I got a box here from a subscriber. His name is Anthony. And I took everything out of the box already that he had sent me. And he's got little notes written on each of these pieces. He just wanted me to try to do stuff with these because he wants to see what I can do with the stuff he's been working on. So that's what I'm going to do in this video. Okay, so I kind of had a hard time locating his emails. And one reason is because on his when he sent me his address, let me see here. When he sent me his address, he just put AJW for his name. Okay, it's Anthony Williams. So when you send me stuff, send me your whole name, and preferably in the package, put a note with your email address. That way I can find you in my emails. It took me a while to find out who this came from. Yeah, should have been easy enough, but for some reason I type in Anthony or whatever. No, I typed in AJ and then different things and nothing came up. I had to spend time looking through every email. Okay, anyway, let's see what we got. Best attempt on a little larger chunk, but better results than a month ago. All right, so have at it. Let's see. Yes. Okay, so basically these are just chunks to see what I can do with them. All right. Yeah, you snapped this one. For those of you who want to see Flintknapping right away, just go down to the bottom of your screen and move the little red dot over to where you see Flintknapping starting. That way you don't have to say to yourself, I'm not going to stay on this channel unless he starts napping in the first 5 seconds. Well, just move the little dot down here on the bottom of your screen, touch it with your finger, and move it so you until you see where the napping starts, because it's not going to start for it's not going to start for a while because I'm going to unwrap these. Okay? All right. He's got little notes on each one of these. Okay. Come on. Yeah, if you send me stuff, it's good to write little notes on each thing. This is an overshot. Yeah. Just as bad as snapping it in half, he says. Yeah, I know. It is. Come on. So I've got a lot of these boxes. And I've got stuff that I've stacked up that's 5 years old in some cases. Sometimes I lose the address and all I have is the material, so that when I start napping it, I hope that they will recognize the material. Let's see. I didn't touch this one. Please show the possibilities. Okay. This looks like Florida. No, Georgia chert. Yeah, I've napped this on video before, but what I'll do is I'll nap it on this video or in this series. But yeah, this is Georgia chert. Georgia. Flint River. Is it Georgia? Yeah, it's from Georgia. Flint River swirl from Georgia. It looks raw. So I've napped it on video before, and if you didn't know what it was called, now you know. It's Flint River swirl, and you can go back to those other videos and see. Let's see. Thought I can't read it. I think he broke it with a hard whack with a billet. Yeah. I don't think this piece can be finished. Oh, that's a good challenge. Let's see if I can finish it. Ouch. Yeah, not like that. I just poked myself with a flake. So I think I'm going to start with this one. Since he doesn't think this can be finished, I'll start with that. This one is, some people like this. They think it's a real relic. Let's see. Yeah, it just looks like a regular modern little doodle. Let's see. Got more than enough of this. I can make these to order. I'm not sure what that means. I think he's trying to be funny. Yeah. Georgetown. He's got some pieces of Georgetown that'll be easy to nap, relatively speaking. So yeah, if you're just watching so that you can be entertained, hope this is entertaining. Let's see. I can biface and notch sort of, and not snap it. So this is the one that he felt he had some success with. It's mahogany obsidian. Ah, yes. Oops. Okay. Now this over here. Where is it? Or what is it? Best attempt on medium-sized clunker. Okay. This also looks like some sort of Georgia Flint River. Attempt on a small chunk. His best attempt on a small chunk. Okay. Yeah. So you can see this, his relative skill level. Right? Nothing wrong with it. All right. I know it's only uniface, but it still slings. When you do this. Okay. I'm not sure what that means, but let's see. Okay. Yeah, his attempt with the Georgetown piece. All right, so here we go. Let's get into this. All right, I gotta make sure I put his little address marker. Well, I make an address marker from the box. I just cut out the address from the box so I know who it is from. Okay. Nine minutes. How many people did we lose? Quite a few, I hope. So now we only have the serious ones. Yes, that's the way I like it. Okay. Let's see what I can do. This is the one that he said he doesn't think it can be finished. Yeah, I get stuff like this at Knappings. People say, can you do this? Can you finish it out? Sure. Let's see. As long as I have all my stuff. Where is my mallet? All right. Yeah, I just cleaned up my shop. Every time I clean it up, put stuff in weird places. I think what happens is I get distracted and stick them in places temporarily because I think I'm not going to forget about it. And then I forget because I'm distracted. And they end up in a weird spot. All right, so to finish these kinds of things out, I always start with abrading around the edges. Let's see what I got. Take opportunistic strikes. I can use the nacho on this to hit the face of some of these step fractures. But I can also use the indirect percussion flaker. You know, to hit the top of the step or the stack. But I don't need to hit the top of the step or the stack in this case. I can just clear all that off with some flakes. All right. Let's see. If I hit hard enough, it should travel. It's Georgetown, so let's see. That didn't travel far enough, but I think I can re-hit that right here on the face of that broken flake and loosen it up. Yes. Sometimes that works. All right, here we go. We're gonna hit it again in a spot where I can loosen some of that up. Another spot. Okay, let's see. Hit that stack on the face. There we go. Now, what's it look like inside? That's the kicker. Sometimes it's unrepairable if there's interior incipient cracks, but this one doesn't look too bad. All right, let's see. It's pretty straight on this back side, so I'm not going to do too much on that side. All right, let's see. Yeah, I just need to trim this up with some flakes. It's Georgetown, but it's one of those mid-grade Georgetown pieces, which means I got to hit it really hard. Yeah, to get it to do anything. With a high-grade Georgetown, it's easier to flake, and you don't need to hit it as hard. Okay. Yeah, I gotta hit this very hard. Did it do it? Yes. Let's see, there's still some bits on there. Okay, so I'm going to try to go through these quickly. And just make little bifaces. I do have to spend some energy figuring out what to do because, yeah, no one can create a challenge quite like a newbie. So they're in a bad position, right? New guys are in a bad position. They can create problems that are extremely difficult even for experienced nappers, and they're trying to overcome their difficulties when they're new that they are creating. It doesn't work. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why a lot of nappers quit in the beginning, Because as a new person, you can create problems with the stone that even an experienced napper would have trouble overcoming, and then you're trying to overcome that with just your very new skill and new abilities, and you're not going to be able to do it. No. So how do you get over that problem? You just have to keep hitting stones and hitting stones and hitting stones, doing the same thing over and over and over again until you get different results. Yep. And people will think you're insane because they've been taught that that's the definition of insanity. But you just say, insanity works in favor or on the side of the flint napper. Yeah. I'm just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again until I get different results, because that's what I was told. And very good. That's what you got to do. And you're going to break a lot of stuff. You're going to whittle everything down to little almonds. You're not going to be able to get flakes to travel more than halfway. You just got to keep trying over and over and over and over again. If you can get someone to help you, go to a nap-in and get someone to help you. It'll speed up the process. You'll figure it out faster. Because the napper that's helping you will tell you what you're doing wrong, or how to do something right, or both. You'll progress faster. Okay, where is my file? I think what I gotta do is just bite the bullet and create a big open space so that each one of my tools has a separate area, a big separate area, so I can just throw it down. I need a big space over here on my right to keep all my tools by themselves, because right now they're stacked on top of each other because I'm trying to limit my space. Why should I have such a big amount of space for just a small number of tools? And I'm finally getting the hint that I've got to have a spot for each one of my tools separately and not touching other tools, and then I can finally reach for each one quickly. Yeah. I gotta develop a system to do that. I've just been stubbornly resisting it because I'm saying to myself, I don't need that much space. It's such a waste of space if I spread all my tools out. But it saves time. And I think time, especially now, as I'm getting older, not only is life getting more demanding, but I need to do more things. Yeah. Don't have time for messing around with old ways. My old way was just to pile all my junk together and just scrounge around for each tool that I need. Yeah, I gotta start separating all the tools and make a whole new tool set just for the tips. That's a separate tool set. Another tool set for doing notching. Another tool set for doing bifacing. Another tool set for doing thinning. And keep those separate. Yeah. Doesn't have to be fancy. You know, it could be like 2 or 3 tools for each operation, but it helps to keep them separate because I can just move one batch away and move the next batch closer as the stages progress. Yeah. All right, so this type of Georgetown needs to be heat treated, in case you didn't know, because it is really not very cooperative. It's a little bit different color, you see. It looks like Georgetown, but it's just an Edwards Plateau chert. It doesn't flake as easily as regular old Georgetown. Now, as a new person, you're not going to be able to do this. This is just to show you the possibilities and the potential, okay? That it can be done. I don't expect a new guy to be doing this. And just because I'm showing you how to do it doesn't mean that you're able to do it just by watching. You can do the monkey see, monkey do thing, but it's going to take a lot of practice to get to a position where you can thin it like this. Okay? Lots of hours of practice. But at least you know the potential. That quartz crystal napped a little bit easier than this, believe it or not. That quartz crystal, I don't know if I got lucky. I'm gonna nap some more of those quartz crystals. But it napped well. Yeah. This stone is easier in the fact, I guess it's easier in the way it is easy to see the edge. Yeah. See what I'm doing. Let's see. Let me move. Oh, can I move that light? No, can't move the light. One thing about my new lighting is I can't move it very much. I'm still in the process of getting everything set up to where I can do everything more efficiently. Yeah, I got more freedom to mess around with the shop here than I can at my house in Texas. I can experiment more here. Okay. Doesn't seem like I can, but yeah, I can. Why can't you do it at your house, you might ask? Because I don't want to mess things up for the kids if they want to use, like I was using, my shop can be used for something else. It originally was a potting shed for the previous owners, right? It's not that great as far as sheds go. It's just a minimal structure. But the kids, they could probably use it for something. Now that I'm not there, I don't want to mess with it too much. I'll let them mess with it. That kind of thing. Anyways, yeah, this is a tough piece of Edwards Plateau chert. 23 minutes. So I'm getting some step fractures because I'm not grinding enough. Let me just see if I can get rid of the majority of the step fractures and all that stuff. All right. So now we're going to switch over to pressure. Okay, let's start separating this stuff. This goes over there, this goes over there. Alright, where... That's why I don't have my good pressure flaker. Going nuts looking. Alright. I didn't have my good pressure flaker easily accessible, and I'm sitting there looking through all the other tools, and there it is sitting back there. What did I do? So this was probably on the floor earlier, and I picked it up and set it down and said to myself, I'll put this in a good spot later. Yep. All right. All right. So I am just regularizing it. I still got some stepped areas. I'm gonna send some flakes across on the other side because, you know, you guys don't want to see a unifacial piece, right? Or maybe you do. It doesn't matter. No, I think it matters. I'm gonna see if I can run some flakes the other way. Okay. Okay. Not like that. Yeah, like that. Not like that. Yeah. Some of you are saying, just use a big easy stick. Yes, I know. I just don't like the big easy sticks because they're too bulky. I have a hard enough time keeping my stuff organized than to reach over there and try to get a big old long easy stick. I try to keep all my tools 12 inches and under. That way, especially now if I'm going to be spreading them out, I don't want to take up a whole big 6 foot long table. If you know what I mean. All right, so that's it for this piece. I think I've demonstrated the possibilities for something of that type. Okay? It just needs to be refined and notched. All right, so the next, he wants to see the possibilities of this chunk here. All right, let's see. I want to see the possibilities too. 28 minutes. Yeah, let's see. That's a flake for an arrowhead. That's just a chunker. I can heat treat that, maybe get a small arrowhead. Those are just chunky flakes. I gotta get rid of the cortex. There's a crack in it, so I gotta get rid of the crack and the cortex. I can make an arrowhead out of that one. This is junky chunk. Let's see. All right, so one side is pretty much flattened. Let me try to get the rest of that crack out. Yeah, this is raw, so it's tough to knap. Okay, it's not bad, but it's tough. So if you're having problems with it, it's the stone. It's got cracks in it. It's raw. It's got some inclusions. Let's see, the crack's still there. Is it gone mostly? Mostly. There's internal issues. That's a junky chunk. Although I can nap that, but it has, see the internal fracture? Yeah, when it's got internal issues, it's really tough to nap. This one I can do some later with that one. I usually just save those flakes and then heat treat them and then offer them as a, or offer them within a box of a bunch of heat treats. That kind of thing. I have not been able to do heat treats lately. Still, I can set it up anywhere I want here. I just need to find a good outlet that doesn't trip a breaker at my dad's house. He's got a little bitty house with not a very big electrical panel, if you know what I mean. Now there's internal issues in there, so this might be a limited endeavor. Now, does that happen when you heat treat it? It looks like that's what happens, but sometimes it's part of the raw stone. And it wasn't because of the heat treat. Yeah. It looks like heat damage, but it's not. Unless this was lightly heated, and I can't tell. Because sometimes it can be lightly heated and I can't tell if it's heat treat or not. And that might be a damaged spot from a light heat treatment. I don't know. It's got internal issues for sure. It might be heat treated. Is that what happens when you try to heat treat something that's too thick? Yeah, sometimes. I don't know exactly what that is. So if you couldn't do anything with it, don't feel too bad. If you encounter a lot of that mess, it's not you, it's the stone. Yeah, it's not worth it. No. All right. So that answers that question, hopefully. That piece of stone was not worth doing much with. All right, so this has got some issues with it. It's got fossils that'll ruin your day. You gotta nap through those and get rid of those, because you can't thin it if there's issues. Yeah. And yeah, I lost some length on there, but I gotta straighten it out. See, and that little thing right there, I'm gonna nap that out of there. All right, it's starting to look solid. So yeah, you've got to take all that stuff out. You can't just leave it in and hope to make a wide point out of something that's got inclusions, unless you don't mind breaking it in half on purpose. Because basically if you're leaving inclusions in there and hoping to have a wide biface, and if it breaks on you, you basically broke it on purpose because you know better than to leave those inclusions in there. Some of you might say, well, I can make bifaces even with inclusions in them. Yeah, if you're lucky. If you're depending on luck, sure. Then yeah, I agree. You can't always depend on luck. Especially when you're new, you don't know if it's luck or you. Am I getting good at it or am I getting lucky? So you don't know when you're new. So don't try anything that requires luck because you won't know if it's you or luck. What you want to do is get into a situation where you know it's you. If you know it's you causing the problem, then it can be fixed. If you don't know, you can't fix it. You have to identify the problem before it can be fixed. Yeah, it's not just cliche. That's truth. You have to understand the problem before you can fix it. Unless you are depending on luck. And it's not good to depend on luck. Not when you're learning. You can play around with luck later on when you're already familiar with it. So this does feel like a heat treat. But even with my experience, I sometimes I can't tell. Because that's hard to nap. It wants to dive in. At the same time, some spots are difficult, but it still wants to dive. That tells me that it's either a heat treat or a finicky raw piece. Yeah. Unfortunate that it wants to dive. Yeah. Come on. Yeah, I'm going to have to go narrower. It's inconsistent, which means it's harder to nap in some areas than other areas. So it's not an easy piece. Even when I tried to attack that from different angles, I'm getting an island. So how do I attack it? Well, this was going to take a while because I've got to not put a curve in there. So that means I've got to remove some mass from the other side too. Or keep hitting the middle but reduce the length. If I keep hitting the middle, it's going to cause a curve. And when it's curved like that, you got to lose length to straighten it back out. See if I can pressure flake that. That island might pop out of there if I pressure flake. Yeah, okay. That one popped out. That one popped. So it's not too bad. Let's go to a smaller flaker. Come on. Could you tell I just came out here and started winging it. Yeah. I'm in a hurry today. Very steppy stuff. It does feel like a heat treat. Yeah, the main story with this one is it's inconsistent. Some areas are really easy to nap, some of them are not. Like this is not easy to nap there, but it's easy to nap here. It's just all over the place, and I can't tell if it's a heat treat or not. So if you're a new guy and when you get this in a box and no one tells you what it is, and they don't tell you if it's a heat treat or not, if I'm having trouble trying to figure out if it's a heat treat, then you're going to have trouble. Why does it make a difference? Well, you might want to try to heat treat it yourself, but you'll waste your time if it's already heat treated, right? And nothing's going to happen. It's not going to do anything to it. Or it could even make it worse. You know, it can't. There is such a thing such a thing as heat treating too much. Oh yes, it doesn't hurt the rock to be heated and cooled and heated and cooled and heated and cooled. It depends on how high you heat it. Okay, that's where the problem comes in. You can heat it too high. In other words, and if it's already heat treated and you heat it not too high, put it in there not too high, because you're a cautious person, prudent and cautious, and it doesn't do anything, you've just wasted some time. It would have saved you time if you had known ahead of time if it was heat treated. That's the story. Okay. I don't know if I should go for the cosmetic attempt to remove that. Usually I debate whether or not to do a cosmetic removal, and usually the impulse to just do it wins out, because most people, that's what they want to see. They want to see the damage control. How do you fix it? That's what I want to know. I can make the mistakes. I just don't know how to fix it. Now you're saying to yourself, if I can just fix my mistakes, I'll be home free. And that is true. If you can just fix your mistakes, the majority of your problems go away. Yeah. There you go. All right. So that we got 2. Plus some flakes of the other stuff. What is this here? This looks like a heat treat, yeah. That's his best attempt, I think, to thin it down. First thing, just trim. With the Abrader. Get all that weak areas off there. And just go to town. Now see, there's already some issues. It might not survive. I gotta be careful that I don't thin the middle down too much at first. Let's try the ends. Make sure the ends are thin. You'll see me skipping around quite a bit. That's one of the reasons I skip around, because I need to make sure the ends are thin before I do any major strikes in the middle. Like that. I don't want extra mass hanging out on the bottom or the top while I'm hitting the middle. And I'm skipping around again because the middle just got a little thinner. So now I got to make the ends a little thinner. Try to keep everything in proportion. What am I doing? There's some crackly, crunchy stuff going on near the tip here, so I want to make sure that I turn the edges in directions that are useful. Remove the edges where I want to be striking some future flakes, but there's a crack here. It's part of the natural stone. Looks like it goes all the way across. That's a weird one. Yeah, you can tell. I'm going to probably lose some of that tip. Yeah. That's where the crack was. See that? Natural crack in the stone. So if you're new, you don't know about natural cracks like this, you'll think, oh, I messed it up because I'm so bad. No, it's the stone. Not in all cases, but in that case it was the stone. There's no way to preserve it. If it's got a crack in it, you've got to take it out or let it crack and then work with what you got. Make doo-doo with what you got left. Yeah. Is there another internal crack issue? Yeah, right there. Another internal crack issue. Is it going to require tissue? We don't know. We don't know, but it's in there. Can you leave it in there on the finished point? Yeah, if you insist and leave it thick enough, yeah, you can leave it in there. If you insist on having those cracks in there, yeah. Just gotta leave it thick. Don't expect to thin it down too much. Of course, everyone wants to thin it down a lot. That's the whole thing that they're trying to do. So what am I doing? I'm just trying to get it thinner without taking too many chances. But I need to get that crack out of the tip there. I don't want to spend all day, because I could spend an hour just on that. Just on trying to do perfect damage control. But I only want to spend a few minutes. Some people really like these videos where I show the potential of what can be done with stuff that other people give up on. or it's past their skill level. Sometimes it's past my skill level. Yeah. Yeah, once in a while I'll have a new guy create an obstacle for himself so bad that it's past my skill level to fix it as well. I don't really mind losing length. The only time I try to conserve a lot of material is when I'm actually trying to go for it when I'm making a particular piece. Sometimes I need to preserve as much as possible when I only have small pieces to work with. Like only small pieces of gravel to work with, and I need to make some, fairly good sized points. That's when I try to conserve the length and the width as much as possible. But like with this, what I'm trying to do is just thin it. Just show you how to thin it, or what to do in this kind of situation. It's already getting to the point where any further thinning causes lots of step fractures. It's very difficult to overcome the step fracturing. The terminations are not that great, either because of inconsistencies in the material or a change of consistency, or the edges aren't supporting the type of flake you want to send because the edge is too soft in that particular spot. Sometimes the rest of the stone is nice and flakeable, but that particular spot on the edge is not consistent with the rest of it, so it doesn't cooperate on the initiation of the flake. So even though the middle, it might be easy to flake, the initiation of the edge has crunchy spots and hard spots or softer spots that are too soft. It won't work. Yeah. In this case, it is inconsistent. And the rule is also, if you're trying to fix a blemish or a cosmetic error, and you're trying to fix it with the ending of the flake, that is the most risky type of fix. Do not try to fix with the ending of a flake. It's best to get right up next to the obstacle. That's why islands are so hard, because the fix on an island is the ending of the flake. So islands are many times a matter of luck to fix, because it's in the middle. You have to send a flake into that area where the ending of the flake is going to be the determining factor if that blemish goes away. That's the riskiest type of damage control. Yeah. The riskiest. Because the ending of the flake is the hardest to predict. I mean, I should say it's the most unpredictable part of the flake is the ending. You can try to predict these things and it'll drive you nuts. But, you can try it. But, yeah, you'll find out as time goes on. Predicting the ending of the flake is the hardest. You don't know how far it's going to go. That's good enough for that piece. I got to move on. It's already an hour. Okay. This little piece here. Let's see. not much you can do if it's all wonky. Oh, I'll see. One thing I just thought of is counting the number of strikes. On a wonky piece, there's a lot more strikes, I think. I wonder. I really don't have time to go back in the videos and see. Somebody does. If you want to use up some time, count how many strikes it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop when it comes to these wonky flakes. And if it's more than normal. It feels like it's way more than normal. And the name of the game with efficient Flintknapping is the least number of strikes. You don't want to have to hit it a lot. It might take you a long time to make something, but if there's not that many strikes, there's less chance of breaking it theoretically, you know. Okay. Starting to eat my tools for lunch. Yeah. Those were some hard hits. Rocks embedded in the steel remove energy from the strike because these will crunch. Yeah, and removes energy. It means you got to hit harder, but then hitting harder is less accurate. Your accuracy goes down. Yeah. Even with practice, your accuracy suffers with the amount of force you need to use. Yeah, so I'm having to hit this very, very hard at this stage. And the rule is when it requires hard hits, it requires a lot of abrading. Yeah, even with that abraded edge, it still didn't go. Yeah, even with those hard hits, it still did not go. I'm going to re-hit that. Yeah. Okay. The danger with re-hitting is the diving. See, it's a goober. It wants to dive. At first, it doesn't want to go anywhere, and then it wants to go too far. Yeah, so it's behaving like a typical coastal plains raw. Yeah, it doesn't want to. The edges don't want to support the flakes that you need. So the edges are going to yield. They're going to wimp out on you. And you're not going to be able to create the flakes you want. The ratio between the edge strength compared to what strength you need to remove flakes in the areas you want matters a lot. That ratio matters a lot. In some cases, if that ratio is not right, you're not going to be able to do what you want. It doesn't matter what. It just doesn't work. If the edge is not strong enough, you know, no matter what you do, that means the material is not strong enough to send flakes where you need to send them. There's no way they can be sent. Now I can send flakes that are that long. It's just with this thinness of edge, it appears to be quite difficult. Now, see, it's eating. It didn't do anything. I hit that really, really hard. I was going to say I was eating my tool for lunch, but there's no deposit of metal. It just took off a tiny little flake, and that's it. See that right there? That's supposed to go all the way into that area, but it didn't go anywhere. It wants me to install a curve in it. I can take out the island if I scoop it out with a big old curve. Yeah, but that's not the point. Point is to keep it straight and take out the island. See, I'm not having trouble flaking in that direction. It's just that side there. I'm going to be hitting it really hard in the middle. So you know what happens. The ends have got to be thin. Especially the tip. It wants to be very crackly. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. I had to hit that hard enough to break it, but I think I got it. Still don't got it. See that? The edge just doesn't support the kind of flakes I want to send inward. So here I am redoing the same problem over and over again. It just does not want to support the kind of flake I need. Nope. So actually I can make a point from it now, but I'm gonna have to thin it down a lot more on the ends first. But yeah, that's the biface. I'm gonna stop on this one. Okay. These are pretty straightforward. I'm not gonna mess with the Arrowhead. These are pretty straightforward as far as spalls go. I'm just going to whittle them down with the bopper. Just kind of zigzag. I say kind of zigzag because you can do those little thinning flakes like that while you're zigzagging, and like that too. That's a slight overshot, but it's not too bad. Yeah, again, this is it looks like a nice Georgetown, but it's tough. It's not the high-grade Georgetown. No. See how the patina is different? It's lighter, so it looked like the lighter color, higher grade Georgetown, but it's not. It's the lower grade Edwards Plateau chert. Although, you know, it probably comes from the Georgetown area, but it isn't the high grade stuff. See, it's crunchy, and I'm not doing it on purpose. It should flake easily. So yeah, it fooled me. It looked like the higher grade Georgetown because it develops a patina. See that? But it's not. It's the lower grade. So that makes a difference. Just like the coastal plains from Georgia and Flint River from Georgia, lots of grinding is needed to get these edges strong enough to produce the flakes you need. Because the flakes don't want to come off. On high grade Georgetown, the flakes, they want to come off. It does want to cooperate. That's why they call it high grade stuff, or that's why I call it high grade, because it wants to cooperate. The terminations are feathery. The edges are easily strengthened to produce the kind of flakes you need. You don't have to sit there and grind the crap out of them. And the stone itself is flexible enough, you don't have to worry about snapping it too much. You don't have to worry too much about snapping it in half. I'm sure there's other things in there that I use to evaluate a stone to tell you if it's high grade or not. Yeah, no internal cracks. This one, it wants to be crunchy. And yeah, I recommend heat treat when it's crunchy like this. When it's crunchy, it just requires a lot more edge maintenance. It's not forgiving at all. You can't be careless like I'm trying to be expedient and careless. It just does not forgive. It's not high-grade stuff, so if you're having trouble with it, it's not your fault. This is mid-grade stuff. I could probably use some heat. Yeah. I'd recommend heating this up to 350, 375, 400, depending on what works. There's no set temperature. Just don't go too much over 400. Usually, unless you have to. See, this has got inconsistent areas. The edge needs to be very, very strong in order to run long flakes, because it doesn't want to flake. Yeah, see, it does not want to have long flakes run on it. And see the termination? Not feathery. That one is not too bad as far as the termination, but you still get steps like right there. Now, yeah, it has a lot to do with the contour of the stone as well, but you can tell when you strike a bunch of flakes off, if there's a tendency to not feather out, that means it's not high grade. If there's a tendency to feather out nicely, then it's a high grade stone. See that? It's not supposed to do that. If it's a high grade. If it's a lower grade, yeah, it's supposed to do that. All that means is you're going to have to be making smaller points. You know, to make long, nice, thin points, you need a cooperative stone. There's just no way of getting around it. Yeah. Unless you depend on luck. And some guys, that's what they do. They work a lot of tough stone and make long, narrow, or long, wide, thin points. But they're going for the risky stuff. Yeah. It's risky. And yeah, no guts, no glory, that kind of thing. You're not going to get a nice point out of tough stone unless you take risks. But new guys, I don't recommend that strategy for new guys. No. You guys try to find good stone. so that you can work on your technique without having to fight the stone. That's all. Yeah. And step fractures is one of the fights you get. One of the fights involved is the fight against the step fractures. Determinations that are not that cooperative. And just when you think you've abraded enough, it'll do that. It'll do the little ring cracks. And then you'll know. Dang it, it's not me, it's the stone. And yeah, there's some technique flaws that cause that kind of stuff too, but you're not going to know what they are when you're new. And sometimes you don't even know what they are when you're experienced. What techniques can I use to mitigate the ring cracks? Switch over to flake over grind. Yeah. Stop doing the percussion work. That kind of thing. If you really want to avoid it. This is tough. I'm trying to thin it so you know what it will take to thin it. Okay. It takes hard hits, very ground down edges, and a size that is manageable. You don't want something really long. Yeah. Yeah, around 3 inches to, 3 by 2. That's the manageable. 3 by 2 and under is manageable for being able to strike extremely hard and that sort of thing. And be, kind of abusive with it in order to get the flakes you need to thin it down. All right, so it's already 1 hour and 28 minutes. You guys have already seen me knap this kind of stuff. So let me just do a couple strikes with the billet and then we'll be done. Yeah. Yeah. Obsidian, whole different ball game. Very easy to flake, very easy to snap in half. Again, I don't recommend long pieces until you're very experienced. It's a different mindset to create long pieces with obsidian. Even though it flakes easily, long pieces require time to make. A lot of experience is required. So work your way up. Start small, then go big. A lot of new guys start out with really big chunks and say to themselves, well, I might as well start with a big chunk because as it gets smaller, at least I'll end up with a small piece. And you don't realize that the small pieces require a whole different mindset. And you're not switching over. So you don't get a big piece and you don't get a small piece. Yeah, so you'll mess up the big piece. You'll get a big chunk of obsidian. You'll mess up the big biface and you'll say, well, at least I'll get a small biface. You get down to the small size that's thick and you try to thin the small one. It's a different mindset than thinning the big one, and you're not going to get even a small one thinned down. So you're going to fail in both. And you'll start out with a big old chunk of obsidian and end up with nothing but gravel. Start small and work your way up. Don't start big and work your way down. That's my advice. Yeah, it's so easy to, relatively speaking, to run thinning flakes on Obsidian. Just got to worry about the step fractures. They will get you. Yeah, okay. Manageable piece. Yeah, these are pretty much already in the right shape. But again, this is the, yeah, this is a lower grade of Georgetown. It looks like the higher grade when it's got that patina on it. In this case, it probably would have been better just to be really, really careful in the beginning. Yeah. Because it's not that cooperative. Yeah. This one's not too bad as far as quality goes. This piece, it is forgiving to a large extent. Yeah. You just never know. Yeah, this piece is not bad. You can kind of tell when you're napping it, if it runs long flakes and it's not being too crunchy. You don't have to abrade all that much, if any. This has got a curve in it, so whenever there's a curve, you're always going to lose a lot of mass trying to get rid of the curve. Most of that curve is taken out. The only issue is this little spot there. You're gonna have a very thin point to end up. You're gonna have to end up with a very thin point to get that to look right. Okay. Yeah, same. The edges don't like the force required to run the long flakes. Okay, so there you go. Hope that's okay, Anthony. Get a thumbnail with all these happy points. Are they happy? They better be. They better be. Okay.